You're watching KSG News, where you get all the latest updates from across the globe to help with your exam preparations. We begin with GS Paper 3. Attacks on Indian cyber assets grew 207% in 2020, with New Delhi ranking 5th among the most attacked cities in the world, as per the latest findings from Subex, an NSE listed digital service provider for telecos. According to the company, the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 was the time that cyber attacks went mainstream, and they continue to persist till date. Now, what does this mean? Subex said 2020 was also the year that saw a significant rise in inbound cyber attacks from North Korea and malware that can be linked to one of the clusters geotagged in North Korea's approximate geographical vicinity. Washington, D.C., London, New York, and Singapore were the top 4 cities drawing the most cyber attacks. China tops the list of origin countries of the attacks globally, followed by North Korea, Iran, Russia, and Ukraine. India witnessed a 91% increase in attacks on manufacturing plants, with vaccine production extensively targeted. Hackers were targeting disruption and pilferage of IP data and information on production capacities. The reconnaissance pattern and actual attacks that followed were aligned to the news on vaccine production that was coming out of the country. According to the findings, hackers seem to be interested in learning about India's vaccine manufacturing capabilities and manufacturing plants associated with the vaccines. This seems to be part of an overall effort to study, monitor, and attack the manufacturing sector in the country. There has been a 610% increase in the volume of regional data on the dark web. In terms of the data that has appeared on the dark web, there is enough information to indicate that there has been a huge rise in successful cyber attacks on various sectors, including retail, that involve huge volumes of customer information. And some more updates related to GS Paper 3. India's economic output in 2021 is expected to remain below the 2019 level despite rollout of the vaccine to deal with the menace of the coronavirus pandemic, said a report by the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. The report was released on the 30th of March 2021. India, according to the Economic and Social Survey of Asia and the Pacific 2021, towards the post-COVID-19 resilient economies, is estimated to record an economic growth of 7% in 2021 to 2022 over a contraction of 7.7% witnessed in the previous fiscal on account of the pandemic's impact on normal business activity. Now, what does this really mean? Observing that India entered the pandemic with subdued GDP growth and investment, the report said, following one of the most stringent lockdowns in the world, the economic disruptions that the country experienced mounted in the second quarter of 2020. It added that a subsequent change in lockdown policies and success in reducing infection rates supported an impressive economic turnaround in the third quarter. However, the pace of recovery moderated in the fourth quarter, with estimated year on year growth still close to zero. In its second advance estimates of national accounts, the National Statistical Office has projected an 8% contraction in 2021, showing the pandemic impact. The report further said China's swift and effective response to COVID 19 enabled it to become the only major economy worldwide to achieve a positive annual economic growth rate in 2020. The report forecasts that, on average, developing Asia Pacific economies are expected to grow 5.9% in 2021 and 5% in 2022, after having experienced an estimated contraction of 1% in 2020. Despite a reasonably strong rebound expected in 2021, a K-shaped recovery is likely, with poorer countries and more vulnerable groups marginalized in the post-pandemic recovery and transition period. Produced annually since 1947, the Economic and Social Survey of Asia and the Pacific is the oldest United Nations report on the region's progress. And now we shift focus to GS Paper 1. As water remains a major global challenge, with more than half of India's population living in towns and cities than in rural areas, 1 year after it kicked off, the central government's Atal Bhujal Yojana, or Atal Jal, has played a key role so far in pursuit of its 5-year mission to increase the capacity of country's groundwater resource. This unique scheme aims at increasing the capacity of states to manage their groundwater resources and for ensuring their long-term sustainability with active participation of the local communities through a mix of top-down and ground-up approaches. The scheme focuses on community participation and demand-side interventions for sustainable groundwater management in identified water-stressed areas of 7 states in the country: Gujarat, Haryana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. The scheme, partly funded by the World Bank, was launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the 25th of December 2019. Its implementation began from the 1st of April last year. It is also expected that the scheme will contribute to the Prime Minister's goal of doubling farmers' income and to result in optimal use of groundwater by the stakeholders in the long run. In the last 1 year, the scheme has managed to sign memorandum of association with all 7 states and funds to the tune of 24.05 crore rupees under institutional strengthening and capacity building component has been released to 4 states: Gujarat, Haryana, Karnataka, and Uttar Pradesh. Besides National Aquifer Mapping and Management Program, which studies for aquifer mapping and management plan formulation, have also been taken up by the Central Groundwater Board under the scheme. Several training and outreach programs include PIPs or public interaction programs and mass awareness program on rainwater harvesting have also been conducted so far. As a part of the 3-tier training program being implemented by the Rajiv Gandhi National Groundwater Training and Research Institute, a total of 63 training modules of various types were conducted during January to November 2020. An innovative scheme on aquifer rejuvenation has also been undertaken by CGWB, in which innovative artificial recharge techniques for aquifer rejuvenation has been carried out in aspirational districts of the states of Maharashtra, Telangana, and Andhra Pradesh. And in some updates related to GS Paper 2, India and the United States have agreed to revamp their strategic energy partnership to focus on greater collaboration in cleaner energy sectors such as biofuels and hydrogen production, an Indian government said in a statement on the 29th of March. The statement was issued after a virtual meeting of Indian Oil Minister Dharmendra Pradhan and US Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm. Now, what is the significance of this? The two countries will intensify efforts to take advantage of advanced US technologies and India's rapidly growing energy market. The United States overtook Saudi Arabia as India's second biggest oil supplier after Iraq last month. India and the US decided to revamp the existing energy cooperation framework to focus more on clean energy, keeping advanced American technology and the rapidly growing Indian energy market in mind to reflect new priorities set by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Joe Biden. India and US have decided to revamp the India-US Strategic Energy Partnership accordingly and convene the third meeting of the revamped SEP at an early date. Earlier, 2 SEPs were held under the Trump administration, where their focus of energy cooperation was more on supply of fossil fuels from America rather than cooperation in reducing carbon footprints. While the import of fossil fuel from the US will continue, Washington will support India's effort for clean energy. The inaugural SEP, a ministerial meeting, was first held on the 17th of April 2018. Its second meeting took place on 17th of July 2020. That's it in this edition of KSG News. Stay tuned for more such short, informative, and concise videos to help with your exam preparation.